So we're going to use a little bit of the PowerPoint and not a little bit of the PowerPoint. We're going to make it work today because this one we had a little tech snafu, but that's okay. It's not necessary. And a lot of times, here's another speaker tip. One thing I like to do is just drop in tips as I trust my intuition on kind of what the room needs and whatnot. And that is to use your intuition when you're speaking and utilize what's going on in the room, right? And we just had like this amazing emotional connection and this emotional experience, and now we're kind of like, okay, now we're getting into our head. So I'm like, I'm in it too, you guys. I was like, okay, wait, what is, oh, PowerPoint, yeah, right? So I'm going to give you some tips to keep in mind, and I'm going to just skip over some of these that we're not going to have time for today, okay? A little bit about how you can listen today, because is anyone here besides Jeannie a speaker? Just go quick, raise your hand. No? Okay. Does anybody, would you rather get a root canal than be a speaker? No. Okay, so we're kind of in the middle. We're like, maybe I would speak. Yes?
Yeah.
No? Okay, yeah. All right. And now more than ever, we're speaking on video, right? We're speaking whether we wanted to or not. We're going to a networking event, doing a minute pitch, all these things, right? So we're kind of speaking even if we maybe not call ourselves speakers. And I will say that speaking is definitely a way that you can utilize, it's a great method to actually build your business. And at the end, I'm going to show you some real life examples of how you could do that. Well, they're not real. I mean, I made up the examples, but like how you can do that. So the first thing that I want to share with you is how to create a steady stream of speaking referrals. And you can also insert how to make business referrals, right? And it's going to go really, really well. And I think I'm even just going to forego this whole thing because it's going to distract me because I know there's so many slides we're going to skip. So this is going to help you in business, whether you're a speaker or not. And that is find your, what I call speaker soulmate. And I'll explain what that is. I made that term up. I have something called a speaker soulmate system. And what it is you start to find that person. Remember how we talked about your power partners? Imagine that there's one or two, like right, this is your little small circle. There's one or two of those power partners who you really, really know, like, and trust. Who you really, they're kind of on the same wavelength as you in terms of maybe they just started in business or they've been in business as long as you or whatever it is. They're sort of that same frequency. And like my speaker soulmate speaks about 60 times a year. I speak about 60 times a year. And then the third piece that's really important is that you speak to the same audience, but you're not competition. Again, this is similar to that strategy partner, right? The power partner, like Haley is in mortgage, so it would make sense to partner with a real estate person, right? Same audience, different businesses. And I was even keeping track of the power partners, and like Randa's power partners are very similar to Lauren's power partners, which makes sense, right? You're like CPAs, estate planning attorneys, right? So it doesn't have to be just for speaking, but you could still use it for speaking. So like Jeannie, I know you want to be out there speaking more often. You could find someone who's kind of at your same pace, similar audience. I know you like to talk to parents and women. So then maybe you find someone else who speaks to parents and women, but you really like them. You get to know them. You invest in that relationship. I've given over 500 talks, and over 100 of those were given to me by one person referring me, and that was my speaker soulmate. So I talk about this concept because it freaking works, you guys. And it's fun, right? It doesn't have to be a slug. Like, business does not have to be, and I tell my clients all the time, people who work with me, I'm like, if you're looking for someone who's gonna coach you on being more overworked and cold calling and being miserable, then you're talking to the wrong person. Because that's not that's not the life I envision for anybody that I work with, right? It's like, no, wait, whoa. How can we make this fun? How can we make this results and effective and whatnot? Okay, so that's the one concept, the speaker soulmate. Now I'm going to share two different strategies with you that you can use at any networking meeting, or if you happen to get asked to be a speaker somewhere and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a talk, what? Just calls I get on the regular. So they asked me, took a hard time, so you. And
that sounded like her.
What do I do now? So
soulmate.
you can share, you can share how you solve problems So that's a good way to start brainstorming. Like if you're thinking, how would I actually craft a talk? What would I start with? You all have expertise in your area, and probably more than just your current job, right? We're like, even just hearing what everyone's doing, like we're first-time buyers and then veteran and people who sell grills. I mean, who knew? Apparently you know about that too, right? Yeah. So there's just all kinds of things that we know about here. So you think, okay, how do I actually solve problems for people? Because that's who your clients are looking for, right? That they don't care what you look like, how old you are, whatever. They want to know, can you solve my problem and can you solve it now? So if you give examples of how you solve problems, that can help. The second example is share stories. You can share a story about how you solve the problem, or maybe you share your own story. You know, I got involved in this because of, this experience, or, with hospice. Jeannie, you probably have lots of stories that you can pull from, right? How you helped a first-time buyer who thought they weren't ever going to be able to get into a house because they didn't have any money down. And you're like, well, actually, we got all the, they came to me, they were really worried, but we looked at all the programs, I listened, and voila, house, right? So there's, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, wait, well, I have a neighbor who now, instead of just saying, we help people with, getting a loan for their house, they're not thinking of anyone, right? So, okay, so share how you solve problems, share how you can tell a story about it. And I'm kind of whipping through these fast because I'm like, time is money, right? So the other thing that I share is called the Speaker's Attraction Formula. And I'm not going to go through all 7 steps tonight, but the first step, and I'm going to give you an invitation to join me at a free event, is what I call get your talk ready to rock. I am a big fan of being ready before you need to be ready, okay? I don't want you to get asked to speak and not have a plan and have that panic. Everything that I do is like, let's lower the anxiety, increase your confidence, right? That self-certainty, because there's already enough anxiety. We already have enough self-doubt. I call it the speaker's kryptonite. If you've never heard of it, probably because I made it up. But it's a real thing, okay? It's a real thing. And it starts with self-doubt, and it sounds like, well, what would I talk about? Would anyone want to hear my talk? Would they buy my stuff? I mean, how would I offer something? I can't sell anything. I need to do more research. Now I need to write another talk. I must have to have 400 or 500 talks to, no. I don't have enough videos on my website. I don't have a big list. All these things are speaker's kryptonite that gets in our way from sharing our message, right? And like, we have a lot of people we need to affect, yes? So what we do is, in the Get Your Talk Ready to Rock boot camp I offer, it's a tuition-free event. It's over $1,000 worth of value. And you go there and you actually create your talk. You create your title, your learning points, and your description of your talk. Those are all things that you're going to need if someone wants you to speak at their event. I mean, I get asked that all the time, right? You're like, oh, what are you going to speak on? Okay? I'm actually covering all the points, even though there's no thing. So
we're winging it.
I'm not winging it. I know it in my head, but we're working with we're working with our time here. So you can go to GetSpeakingGigsNow.com/bootcamp, and that's a long title.
Oh, we'll send it.
Okay. It's on September 2nd. It is a Thursday from 9 to 1. Is it on there?
I mean, you're
yeah, you can just kind of
I just did
slash
boot
bootcamp.
camp.
Genius.
Oh, yeah, that's what I did.
Thank you, Marianne. Marianne now. It's 9 to 1. If you cannot go for whatever reason, you'll get the replay as long as you register. Okay, and you'll get a template, you'll get the guidebook. So it's chock full, and you get networking, and you get to play with other people, and so like, what do you think of this title? And the chat's really cool because everyone's like, this title, and then we're like, how about tweak this word? So you literally get like this live interaction with it. So I start with that because you have to have a product on the shelf, and your confidence is so much higher when you're like, yeah, like I didn't just pull this out, like I learned from someone who's done it hundreds of times. This is what she uses, so I think it's gonna be okay for me. And I can make it interesting and make it fun. So the second thing is you need to figure out where you're actually gonna speak. Like who's your people? Who would need to hear what you have to say? And it might even be, you can start looking at your own power partner list. Like where do they hang out? one thing that's cool about me speaking, most of the talks that I've done are in Orange County. So whenever people are going on, I'm like, oh yeah, I spoke for that association. Oh yeah, I spoke for that. Like I spoke for this thing where there was fiduciaries. I was like, oh, there was, financial planners and insurance people and attorneys. I spoke for the APA. All the ABA, excuse me, American Bar Association in Orange County. So there's just like associations for everything. Okay. So if you think there's no speaking engagements, there's like a gajillion. Okay. Third thing that I want to share with you is you need to know how to monetize your talks, okay? So that plan is different for everyone. It depends on what you're offering, what your personality is like. There's a lot of things out there I see that, say it has to have this exact formula. I have found that is not true. What I have found to be 100% true is that you need to know what you're doing and you need to have an intention and a strategy and a plan before you get up on the stage, right? So I never recommend winging anything from here, right? Like, yeah, if like someone barged through the room and we would improvise with that, that's not winging it. But meaning like if you don't have a plan or your plan is, oh, go get my business card at the back. No, that's not a plan, okay? Don't ever do that. If you're in a situation, call me. That's a 911. Please do not do that. So
on stage.
Now a couple of things.
Cool friend.
So here's some things to think about. Okay, how would speaking work for my business? And I think Rand and I did this. We did a little bit of this the other day. We were kind of strategizing. So you can think about what's the value of your product? Like if someone did a mortgage, how much is that? Average, right? I'm not saying to answer this out loud. I'm just saying like you have a certain commission that right? So we all have a certain monetary thing that we're like, oh, okay, that's the value of that transaction or that relationship. So you kind of have that. Let's say it's $1,000 just for easy math because I love easy math. And then you speak. Let's do once a month, super easy peasy, right? Once a month. So that's 12 times a year. And let's say you got one client at that one speaking engagement. Okay, so you have 1,000 times 12 clients. So $12,000. Okay, yeah, right? And so what I would challenge you to do is put your own numbers into that equation. Like, well, actually, mine's more like 5,000 or 10,000 per transaction, or if it was a year, that would be equal to XYZ. Then put that number in there. And then, well, maybe I would speak a little bit more often than that. So you start to create your own formula, and that's what we'll work on with my clients because it's got to make sense. If you're not in business, then you're not going to be helping anybody, right? We want to be able to get you to be helping people. That's the whole point. But have fun doing it if you enjoy speaking. Okay, so cool, good, all right. Yep, see, we're gonna land this plane on time, y'all. We're gonna land this plane on time. But I want to make sure and give you lots of value even though it was a short amount of time. So I'll give you the site again. I want everyone to be there if this is something that's resonating with you and you're like, gosh, that would be kind of cool to have a talk done. How neat, then I wouldn't learn from an expert. It's GetSpeakingGigsNow.com/bootcamp, all lowercase. You will not find this on my website. It's literally just through like people who either get a chance to hear me speak or happen to see it somewhere on social media because they're connected to me. But it's a private event for you. Okay?
So cool.
All right. I'm gonna turn it back over to the lovely ladies here, Women on Fire.
So actually, you have a raffle ticket in front of you.